Hello, let's see how to write the RESTful web services using PHP Slim framework. For that, I have installed XAMPP on my machine. Inside the XAMPP, inside htdocs folder, I have created a project with the name GM_AutoQA. Inside that, I have created a folder with the name API. API stands for Application Programming Interface. Inside the API, I have copy paste the framework folders which you can Google and download from the respective sites. Like from Google, you can do Google for Slim framework and you will find the Slim framework website. From here, you can use Composer to install the Slim framework, or you can directly go to the GitHub site where the Slim framework code exists. From there you can download it and you can directly copy paste it over here. So I have downloaded and copy paste Redbean PHP framework and Slim PHP framework. After that, I have created a file called as index.php. Inside the index.php, I have created the error reporting as 0 to report the to report the error. I have started the session and then I have included the files like slim, which is the slim framework file, and then the dbconnect.php. So while in dbconnect.php, I have created a folder DAO. Inside that, I have created the dbconnect.php. Inside dbconnect.php, I have used Redbean PHP framework. Using Redbean PHP framework, I have connected to the MySQL database on my local host with the name gm_qa_db and provided the username and password to connect that DB. I have used r:3 true to not to change the database dynamically. So my database schema will be fixed. It will not be updated at runtime. Post that, I have created an instance of Slim framework and then I have run the PHP Slim application by calling the PHP app run. So I have run it using the PHP $app and then the $app and the app hyphen and run. So in this way I can run the application, the PHP application, PHP Slim application. Here I have done it more modular by creating different controllers for the different domain objects, such as for login I have used login controller. For changing the password I have created the change password controller. For creating an employee, editing an employee, deleting an employee, I have created the employee controller. So these files I have created inside the API, inside the controller folder. Inside the controller folder, inside the employee controller, I have created the different callback functions for creating, updating, deleting and adding employee. So here is the app which I have initialized in index.php. Inside API, I have used the same app over here. Inside index.php, I have initialized this app object. While in employee control.php, I have directly used, and then this is the post method which will be mapped to HTTP post method, and then the slash employees is the URL pattern, and then to authenticate the employee, whether that employee is valid or not, is that authorized to access this specific RESTful URL or not. I have created a middleware called authenticate employee. Post that, I have created the response DTO to send the custom response back to the end user or the browser. Then I have decoded the body which I have received in the post request. Then I have created an empty employee object using Redbean PHP. Then whatever the data provided in the input, I have validated using validate input. I have written this validate input method inside the index.php. So validate input method takes a text and a type. So it takes what to validate. So it uses switch case to the type. So if it username, then it validates with the username and it provides the text which is entered by the user, and it validates with the regular expression inside username. So the username regular expressions defined over here. So if whatever the data entered by the user is validated using this regular expression, and if data is wrong, then it will halt the application by sending 400 HTTP status code, which means bad request. So the data sent in the request is not valid. So once everything is valid, all employee object will be populated with the proper data like last name, account number, salary, and then it will be stored in the database. If everything goes well, then the status will be replied as true, and then the response DTO is sent back to the browser or the customer. If exception is thrown, the status will send as false, and proper error message will be sent to the browser or the customer. Here, if the URL matches with /employees/id, and if the HTTP request is deleted, this callback function will be executed. It will again validate if the employee is authenticated or not. So authenticate employee uses the slim instance, and then it gets the encrypted cookies which were created once the user logged in, and it also checks the header xsrf token in every request which is coming. So once I get the delete request, before getting the callback function get executed, the authenticate employee will get executed, and it checks if the cookies are valid and the xsrf token whichever sent in the request is valid or not. So it just checks whether that exists in the session or not, and if it exists and matches with the data, the session data, then the user is valid, or otherwise the application will halt with HTTP status code 401, which means unauthorized access. Now here a request body is taken, and inside that the path variable ID is taken, and if the path ID we have created using ID Here an SQL is created like delete from employees where ID in that array which is passed as a path variable. So if the execution goes well, the status will be sent as true, and if the ID itself is blank or not valid, or the delete operations not succeeded in the try block, then resource not found exception is thrown, and which will be handled, and then in the response DTO the status will be sent as false, which means the request is not successful. If the URL pattern is get, similar to this, URL pattern is get with the similar to this employees count, but the URL varies like employees slash page slash limit. Page and limit typically used for pagination. So if the slash employees slash 0 slash 10 and with the get request, then the middleware is executed. If a valid user is there, then it will find all employees with limit with the pagination given, and then it will return that employees by setting content type as application JSON, and will return the employees in the JSON format. If the employees itself not found, then it will throw resource not found exception, and it will handle here, and the response to status will be sent as false. If the get request with the URL employees count, then this callback will get executed. Here the count of the employees will be found, and it will return the count of the employees. If the employees count found to be 0 or there is no any count value, then resource not found exception is thrown, and which is handled, and then the response status will be sent as false. If there is a put request with matching URL as slash employees slash, let's say 9, 10, whichever ID is provided, then this callback will get executed. The user will be authenticated with authenticate employee, and this path variable will be used to find that employee. If that employee exists, then whatever the request body had came, that will be validated first, similar which we have done while creating an employee. So here, if all validation is correct, then the employee will be updated with the new information and stored back to the database, and then status will be sent as true. Here we can send the employee itself back, or we can send the 204 status code, or we can send a custom object like response DTO. If the employee not found, then the resource not found exception is thrown, and which will be handled here. So first thing first is you need to do copy paste the slim and red bin PHP, then go to DO, create a file with name dbconnect, then connect to the database, then create an index file, include the slim dbconnect, create an instance of slim, then run that slim using app run. Then before that you need to create the controllers of respective domains, and then include that, create a class with resource not found, and then you can create the middlewares like authenticate employee, authenticate employer to authenticate the users and their roles. Then you can create the validated input by using regular expression, you can validate them, and then create the respective controllers. In that controllers post method to create the respective domain objects for here for example employees, then delete with the URL employee slash ID to delete an employee or the domain object, then app get to get the employees with the pagination or get the entire employees without passing the page and limit. If you want to get all the employees at a time, to get the employee count, then put to update an employee. So we have used put, get, delete and post respectively for creating, retrieving, updating and deleting of a domain object. In this way, we can code the RESTful web services using PHP Slim. Thank you.